guys, it is Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing and I'm here with my weekly wrap up. I actually only got 2 full books read this week and neither of them was the book that I've been holding up in my thumbnail because I am almost finished this, so I'm kind of including it in my wrap up and yeah, so I'll talk about it a little bit but not loads because I have not yet finished it, but I'm almost there. So the first book I finished this week, I finished last week just after I filmed my other weekly wrap up, and that was Our Little Cruelties by Liz Nugent. I read this during the Thriller-a-thon and this is Liz Nugent's latest book that's coming out in March, and this is a very, very interesting character study kind of thriller, a real character study into these 3 brothers and their whole lives and their relationships with each other and yeah, the real intricacies of their familiar relationship. So this book follows 3 brothers, as I said, William, Brian and Luke, and at the very start of the book all we know is that one of the brothers is dead and the 2 other brothers may have had something to do with the other brother's death, and we just don't really know what's going on and we don't know who's dead, who's alive, and we go back from the start then and we start following this brother from like his childhood and he's telling us about his life and kind of all the different things going on in his life, like not a very like just like a quite a normal life in terms of that he is like a film producer, so you know there's a little bit of glitz and glams there and a bit of like partying and stuff like that, but we do realise that like he's not a particularly nice person, so you're kind of like, okay, well he must be the one that died because he kind of feels, he genuinely comes across as someone who you might want to like push off a cliff sometimes. But then we get to the next brother and we kind of hear like all these just how the brothers see each other and all the different kind of things that are annoying about them and the really bad parts of their personalities, and none of these brothers are particularly like good people. I will say the youngest brother, Luke, is suffering from a lot of mental health problems and it's quite detailed at times in this book. He definitely has some sort of form of schizophrenia and in his part you see kind of what he's seeing, how he's struggling and yeah, what it's doing to his head and his life, and I'm not sure if that could be triggering for people, but just so they know going into it that there is some mental health problems discussed in this book and there is treatment there, but he relapses a lot, so you kind of see that fight between just trying to get better. None of these characters, Liz Nugent, again, she just excels in creating these horrible characters that you were just sucked into and you just want to keep going and see what they do next, and this is definitely one of those type of books. I felt very kind of connected to the story. I wanted to know what was happening, I wanted to know what the brothers were going to do next. I was kind of just hooked into the next horrible thing they would do to each other. There was a relationship, the relationship with their mother has like a different relationship with all 3 of them, which was super interesting, and it was really kind of fun to kind of figure out if some of their actions were related back to the relationship they had with their mother. And yeah, it was just a very fun, interesting thriller for me, even though it wasn't one that had a lot of action in it. I just love that deep dive character study that Liz Nugent always does with her characters, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did feel like near the end I started to lose interest a tiny bit, so I kind of just felt like it could have wrapped up maybe a little bit quicker, but yeah, I did enjoy it and yeah, 4 stars, definitely recommend. If you liked Liz Nugent's other books and you know the type of style of writing that she has, I would definitely say to go for this one. And then I read an historical fantasy book, The Golem and the Genie by Helen Wecker. This is a book I did have from the library, but I brought back to the library yesterday because I finished it. And this is a, as I said, a historical fantasy set in the early 1900s, and we are following a golem, which is kind of this Jewish creation, like this, I think it's kind of like this magical creature that's linked back to like kind of Jewish heritage. She's basically a woman made of clay, and she was made for the purpose of this man that he wanted this wife, and he wanted this obedient wife who was intelligent but would basically, you know, do everything he said, because this guy had a very hard time finding a wife because he wasn't a very nice person. And then on the journey over to New York, as soon as he wakes the golem up, he ends up dying, so she ends up completely on her own in New York, and she doesn't have a master, and the golem is supposed to have a master, so she feels a little bit aimless. She can hear everyone's kind of their thoughts and their wishes, and she kind of has this struggle of trying to fulfill everyone's wishes because she has no master that she can really focus on. And then on the other side of things, we are following a genie who comes out of this lamp in the kind of the Syrian quarter in New York, and he ends up befriending the person who found him, who was kind of like this tinsmith. And so you have these two magical creatures in New York kind of on the opposite side. So we have Sheva, who is in the Jewish quarter, and we have Ahmed, who is in the Syrian quarter, and they're kind of slowly we know that at some point they're going to become friends and they're going to meet each other, but we're slowly just seeing their lives as magical creatures in New York trying to hide who they are and just trying to get on with ordinary life, while at the same time trying to figure out what the hell to do in the future. This one was very nice. I've heard a lot of really good things about this book, so I was very excited going into it, and I will say it's a very, very slow book. It took a long time for me. It seemed to take a long time for Sheva and Ahmed to actually meet, and for their friendship to grow and to develop, and I just felt like a lot of it was just kind of like Ahmed like walking around New York and kind of just being annoyed at the fact that he was so kind of constrained because he was obviously captured in this lamp. He didn't have his full powers. A wizard obviously had captured him at some point, and that's why he had been stuck in this lamp for so long. And then you had Sheva, who was just trying to be like a good girl, going to a bakery and doing her job, and you know, not trying to upset anyone. And there, like, I don't know, I can't, like, I really appreciated the writing in this. I thought the writing was beautiful. I thought the slow character exploration was done really, really well, but at the same time it wasn't a book that I felt like really glued to because it was so slow. Yeah, it kind of felt like it just plodded along, so it wasn't one that I absolutely loved. And then near the end of it, when things actually started to happen, my interest was just, I didn't really care that much as I should have, because I just felt like it had taken so long to get up to this point where like the book was like this big and like the tiny little action point at the end was like this small. So I just kind of felt like my attention did tend to be like, oh, like I don't really care now, like, so yeah, which is a shame, because I think the writing is really, really good, and I do actually think there's a sequel planned for this that's going to come out in 2021. Like, I'm glad I read this, and I really did appreciate the writing in it, and I really like the setting of New York in the 1900s, and you're getting sections of New York that I don't think I would have seen before, like the Jewish quarter and the Syrian quarter, which are both really interesting in their own right, and there's the type of diverse people that are there, and their religions, and how people you know, interacted, and the different jobs people had. All of that was really, really interesting as well, so I did enjoy that. So I gave this one like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, just because I just felt like it was a little bit too slow at times, and it just took a while to actually get going. And the last book, as I said, I have not quite finished reading. About 80 pages left of this. This is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. This is a fantasy book that I've heard pop up quite a lot lately, and I decided to get it out from the library because I was very interested in it. And in this one we are following a girl. I'm pronouncing her name as Mira. It's M-E-H-R. I'm pronouncing it as Mira, but I actually don't know how to say her name, and I've looked up videos of the author talking about this book, and she hasn't said the character's name. I'm sure there's a video out there that she does say her name that I just haven't found, but I did look at a couple of videos to see if I could figure out how to say her name, and I couldn't. So I'm just saying Mira. And we were following Mira, who is a governor's daughter, but her mother's people are this type of people that are connected to these kind of demon magical like creatures called the Deva, and it means that she has kind of some sort of magic in her blood. And the type of people that she is, I think it's called the Amarithi people, are normally looked down upon in society, and they're kind of thought as just like lesser people. And she's kind of had like a lucky life because she is the governor's daughter. Her father is a different type of race than her mother's people, so she's had kind of a life of luxury compared to a lot of other people that are Amarithi. But then one day she is discovered by the emperor, and the emperor is kind of like this kind of priest kind of guy, or the Maha, and she ends up having to go into an arranged marriage with another man who's also of Amarithi blood. And she ends up kind of almost being a slave to the Maha. She's just trying to figure out now a way of escaping and a way of breaking the bonds that are connecting her to the Maha, and if there's a way through the magic that she's able to do, is there a way of being able to break that bond and being able to escape. Really long-winded explanation for this book, but that's how I can kind of explain it. I do know there are a lot of nods to, I think, Indian culture and Indian stories or mythology in this book, which is quite interesting. I'm enjoying it. I think it's well written so far. I do really like the character of Mira. I think there is a good mix of kind of hot, like intense moments in this, mixed with kind of sweet and tender moments, which I've enjoyed. I will say again, I feel like I should have finished this by now, but I haven't. And I think it's just that it's just again one that I'm not like page turning, but at the same time I think I've just been doing other things. So I'm hoping I'll be able to sit down at some point today and finish this before I start my Irish readathon books properly. So yeah, and I do have the second one out from the library that I'll probably read at some point this month, but I don't know when exactly I'll get to it. But I think this one's probably going to be a 4 out of 5 stars. Just look out for my Goodreads review during the week or the end of the day. It'll probably be there. So yeah, I think it's going to be 4 out of 5 stars. I do enjoy it. As I said, well written, good mix of moments, action and sweet moments, and a really good history as well, I should say. A really good history, like magic history, like a magic, there's a real base of what the magic is in this book. There's a real history of the people there, and of the Emperor. There's some parts of the Emperor and the Empire that I'm still a little bit confused about, and why, and exactly how the Mahas connect to the Emperor, and why the Maha is so powerful, and who the Emperor is, and is there a connection there. And yeah, I have a few questions in that sense, but I'm sure they will either be answered in this one or in the next book. So yeah, so that's everything I've read this week. Please let me know if you guys have read any of these books, what you guys are reading, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.